I do want to talk a little bit more about Apple and Amazon getting into sports because these are two companies that could have done it like this. And while I do think it might be a little disingenuous to say that Apple is merely testing the waters right now because they tested the waters by acquiring Thursday Night Football from the NFL, the biggest, most dominant league in this country. But their programming around that, their shoulder programming around that, is doing things kind of carefully. And it's curious because these are companies that have the resources to do it all right away, real quick. Consequences be damned. Customer approval be damned. They could just do it. But they've decided to soft launch an entire sports programming division without an ounce of promotion. There's the occasional promo on Thursday Night Football. But again, Amazon is producing daily sports content. And a lot of people don't know that yet. And they've employed Michael Davies and NBC Row to actually shape their programming strategy. So this is a titan of the industry. So again, a little disingenuous to say that they're just beta testing this. But in terms of optics, I guess we're considering that just because they haven't gone full bore into this. Apple, on the other end, has decided to do this with a Major League Baseball package that if you love the sport, it's not without controversy. People don't like that it's behind a paywall. People didn't like the presentation. They did adjust some of the things from last year, but they decided to do this with MLS too. So you have these big major companies that everyone just assumes are going to end up buying the non-survivors, but they're not just jumping into this fray, and they're taking more of a cautious approach, Jeremy.
That's the part that's really interesting when it comes to sports streaming rights here is you have all of these streaming rights, whether it's these individual streaming networks that are getting in on individual packages, or you look at other streaming rights that might be out there. You know, I work for Bally Sports. I don't have any sort of like information about how this works, but you see reports all the time about this company or that company might want to, wade in here and try to purchase those rights. The part that's been interesting about Apple and Amazon is, like you mentioned, they have more money than God. They're the type of companies that can go in full steam ahead on anything, and yet both of them have sort of tested in their own ways how to go about it. Apple, with their decision, all right, we have MLS. This is a league, and we're learning how to run a league's TV rights on sort of a local level that's nationalized. You're looking at Amazon that gets in on a national sport in football. Those are two different approaches, and Amazon, like you said, has all of the shoulder programming already built in. Apple still sort of waiting to see how that works, but when you have the rights that could potentially be out there for all these different teams right now that Bally/Diamond Sports has. When you look at, the different ways to sort of wade in and build the packages they already have, we've just been waiting for about a decade for this moment since those first major TV deals that were happening with cable providers about 10 years ago to 7 or 8 years ago in these different leagues that inflated salary caps. There was this sort of sleeping giant underneath, which is when will streaming services that were overtaking cable be able to go into the live TV part of it? We've seen them do it, like we've mentioned on this show, with stand-up comedy specials or whatever else. And as they get the live broadcasting done, you would think that the next thing would be purchasing up all of the live streaming rights of sporting events as well.
But they've jumped in. Both companies have jumped in. They're just not promoting it. And they don't have to promote it because they are so flush with cash. This is not their main business. It's going to be a major part of their business. But why promote something until you feel like the thing that you're promoting is exactly the way you want it to be? And that's what Apple and Amazon can do.
Yeah, and it's not the way that you would assume that these companies would do these things. But even when it comes to a whole brand new frontier for these companies, sports media, they're taking this cautious, smart approach, and they didn't get to where they are by not operating smart and cautiously to a very large degree. They're kind of sleeping giants, and when people look at sports media, everything is still so ESPN-centric, in part because of just what ESPN meant to everybody growing up and even to this day. The notion,
And they have the games, Mike. Currently, they have the games. It's partly that, right? The nostalgia. We all grew up with ESPN. We all watched it. You turn on you want to watch sports. Chances are it's on ESPN. The games too, though.
Yeah, they're still considered the ESPN is the standard when it comes to both game rights and studio programming around those game rights. Although they're getting diluted by degrees with each round of layoffs, and something happened fairly shocking to me. It was shocking to learn that FS1 is actually cleared in more households than ESPN.
Crazy.
If you're talking about access to households, ESPN is no longer number one. Yet the perception is ESPN is so much bigger than FS1, in part because FS1 just kind of seems smaller in both their presentation and the audience that they lean on and the directions that they go in. But they've made a huge investment using the flagship network in Fox, and they're going to go toe-to-toe with College Game Day. They have already, but they've made direct acquisitions to make ESPN weaker, and they have the game rights now to actually put a serious dent in all that stuff. It's kind of crazy, though, that Apple and Amazon are barely figuring into this conversation when they're sleeping giants. They're these giants that, with a snap of a finger, could be the end-all and be-all.
I think you're seeing like leagues and conferences be hesitant to go straight to streaming because that was the issue with the Pac-12. They got an offer from Apple and they all said no because they didn't want to be streaming only. So it's going to be this weird sort of like waiting game to see like if these conferences and major players give up the idea of the cable TV focus, broadcasting their games.
Well, and that's where you wonder if something like MLS having some success as a league, right? Because that is different than the one night of the week where the NFL already has its general media package and all Thursday Night Football has to do with Amazon is get this one night right.
Yeah.
You look at MLS and they're running a league's broadcast rights. Could you see one of these now super conferences in college football decide, all right, that's the way we want to do it, is go behind a paywall and our entire conference goes behind that?
Well, I do think that Notre Dame, who's been one of the smartest athletic departments when it comes to self-worth and knowing exactly how to navigate these things and to partner up with an absolutely idiotic, pedestrian conference like the ACC, that the 1 second they actually had leverage due to the pandemic, they still found a way to get off the hook. And I think that if these teams, the group of four that are mentioned and trying to break away, that are actively consulting with their attorneys, finding a way to leave the ACC right now, is I'd kick the tires on streaming independence. I don't know who you'd play. I don't know how exactly it would work, but I would just see what the market is and what the appetite is out there. But we mentioned MLS as a success story, Jeremy, and it's only a success because of Messi. It's only like the vibes around MLS, its distribution. I'm one of the lead propagandists for MLS, and I hated that it was entirely behind the paywall. Now I love it. I get to watch. I just did this. I just traveled to Europe, and I was able to watch my MLS package wherever I wanted in the world. And I think it's awesome. I love their presentation on the game broadcast. Everything that Apple does is sleeker than Amazon. Amazon seems to be going for mass appeal, and I wonder just how much thought is going into that. It's kind of like how none of us actually see the appeal with CBS, and yet every time the ratings come out, they're the biggest network on the planet. And we're like, who likes this? Well, it's not made for you. And I think that's kind of Amazon's approach.
Well, I feel like MLS went with the Amazon or the Apple deal because it's a young league, but it had kind of plateaued in terms of growth, and they're not looking to replace the NFL or the NBA. They're just looking to capitalize on the existing audience that is going to spend money on a subscription to watch MLS games. So it actually made a lot of sense. Whereas if you're the Pac-12, you don't want to be behind a paywall. You want to be on network television. You want the most eyes possible watching your games because you'll make so much more money that way, and you are trying to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC and the other conferences and getting eyeballs. I just think it's a completely different goal that each league is trying to seek.
Yeah.
And I think
because if you're a soccer fan in this country, you're naturally predisposed to having to pay behind. You have
to look for what you
want
want to.
Whereas if you're a
watch.
college football, if you're Joan or John college football that wants to watch your games, it's still very much a traditional experience. I go to either ESPN or Fox for my pregame coverage. I see the game of the week on network television.
It's easy, Mike. You put the Pac-12 behind the paywall, I will never watch another Pac-12 game again.
You say that, but there is
I won't.
You say that, but how easy? All you have to do is show your phone your face right now to buy things. I think you're underestimating exactly how easy this thing is. You have some of the
you're underestimating how unwilling I am to pay to watch Pac-12 football.
You say that. You're going to go where the games are. And if with a touch of a button on your phone, you can make it go to your screen, because Apple TV is actually a good product. Now, I'm not just talking about the content. I mean the Apple TV itself. With the multiple games that you can watch, they make it pretty easy. These are smart people. There's a reason why Peepaw and Nana have an iPhone these days. It's because it's incredibly easy to use. You have these people making it as easy as possible for you to get your subscription basis, for you to use your phone. Think about you would have never been an iPhone guy if you looked at this. What is this weird invention? And you've had, granted, I don't know how old your iPhone is. It looks like a Series 7. But
I have no
He still
idea.
has a home button.
he just recently got a phone without the home button.
No, you got rid of the home button?
I have no idea what that means.
Do you have a headphone jack?
Where would it be?
Did you guys notice?
He's like, what is a headphone jack?
Did you guys notice that that photo of Aaron Rodgers walking into practice and he didn't have the AirPods on? He had the old school. That's entirely because he doesn't trust Bluetooth, right?
He's not wrong.
In between segments, Stugotz let out a big Jesus Christ.
I did, yes.
And
JC.
yeah, and it could just be because his body's hurting.
Superstar.
But what's the Venn diagram of people that have watched Jesus Christ Superstar and listen to this show to get the reference?
You're looking at it.
El Shaddai.
Yeah. Whatever that means. Venn diagram.
Oh, I was going to say El Shaddai. You should absolutely know.
That too.
Why'd you say Jesus Christ?
It's a 2-year deal for $325 million. I just marvel.
Talking about the Neymar deal?
The Neymar deal, yeah. I'm just marveling at the amount of money soccer players are being offered, deals they're rejecting, deals they are taking. It's incredible. It is incredible.
We're talking about there are 4 uber famous soccer players on this planet that are just god tier in celebrity and also form. Ronaldo to a lesser degree on form, although he had an amazing. I actually sat down and watched the Saudi League game for all the moral conflicts that presented. Whatever, we're here. I can't follow the sport now without watching Al Hilal versus Al Nassr, and what Ronaldo did down a man to get a brace in extra time against their chief rival was actually pretty impressive. But there are 4 god tier soccer stars on this planet, as we know. Messi. A great return on investment so far for Inter Miami, the league, and the sport. Cristiano Ronaldo, Saudi Arabia. Mbappe seems to have mended fences, at least for the next few months, with PSG. And Neymar. And when you look at social media metrics, the 3 most famous athletes on this planet are Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar. Ronaldo, I think, has 600 million followers.
Zlatan would like a word, but keep going.
But Zlatan...
So would Shep Messing.
Zlatan retired. But there is no one really close to those 3. And 2 of the 3 are playing in Saudi Arabia right now. And I had to look on Twitter for a stream to watch the Saudi League. And I know that they just announced a huge deal with FS2. But they got Neymar. And I loved how petty this was because Neymar burned the bridge over at PSG, which seems to be a thing. They sold him for $99 million. Just so they could say, Neymar, you're not of the quality of a $100 million player. But to sweeten the pot for Neymar,
Not petty at all.
who has a proclivity to party, going to a country like Saudi Arabia is actually probably a good thing for him. If he gets out of shape because of partying in Saudi Arabia, you know that they're bending the rules for these types of players. But you can't follow the global game now without having access to it. And that's how Saudi Arabia is going to sports wash. They're just going to make themselves inevitable. Irresistible. You cannot follow golf. You cannot follow soccer without us. We are going to rip the game's biggest stars away from you and make you watch, make you have that moral conflict. And we'll see where it's going. People are talking about the Saudi League. They're actually getting players closer to their prime now, so they're going to be here to stay.
Unlike MLS.
Well, MLS
You
is
can't
already...
say Messi's in his prime right now.
What are you talking about? He's going to win the Ballon d'Or.
What is that?
The best player on the planet. He's removed from one of the greatest he's months removed from one of the greatest World Cup performances we've ever seen.
All right.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't think he's at
I mean, he's pushing 40, isn't he?
he's at 36, but he looks as good as ever right now.
I mean, he's playing in a league with inferior players. So.
Yeah, but every time someone says that and they show his highlights and they're like, look at this own goal, it's embarrassing. If you ever watch Messi, he'd make everybody look like that. Everybody. Like,
I don't, Mike.
It's not an indictment on the league if Messi scores a brace. He does that all the time. He did it in the World Cup final.
I'm not questioning his greatness, okay, but he is playing against inferior players in an inferior league. This should be this easy to him, right? If he's that good.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, what he's doing is not unlike what he did his entire career. I understand the take. Yeah, he's going up against a guy making $67,000, and everyone's going to take the opportunity to crap on MLS players. But what he's doing, he did to the best teams in the world. What he's doing, he just did to France not too long ago. Anywho, it's time for Weekend Observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend Observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, I didn't expect to be saying this for another 3 weeks, but due to the rare weekend where I wasn't traveling, combined with Phil Farrow telling me that I would die if I went outside, I sat down and watched football. And not just any football, preseason football. And Dan, out of nowhere, just like that, make no mistake about it, sitting on my ass the entire weekend watching football is back. Felt good. Preseason football. I gambled. Gambling again.
Oh, I'm gambling again, too.
I got
I
one
swore
for
it
you.
off for a month. And then your boy was on Sao Paulo Flamengo.
I can hear grease in your throat. I mean,
This is the rare Phil Farrow's telling you you're going to die because it's too hot, not because it's raining too much,
yes,
right?
correct. Yes, this is not a storm flying over my house. This is just don't go outside. You might die. It's hot out.
He's right.
He is right.
Put it on the poll. It's grease in my throat.
Marcus Mariota is an Eagle. So is Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift.
Oh, number 0.
Yes, it's
What a
in your
move.
throat. Yeah, Dan, you know what the I in Iowa stands for?
I have the under.
It stands for I have a gambling problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I took.
They have the under 2.
Jacoby Brissett, Commander. Kirk Ferentz really seems to have a firm grip over his football program. Blaine Gabbert, Kansas City Chief. And as always, not terrible. Mike, do you know what the I in Iowa stands for?
I feel like I took the wind out of your last
I'm
show.
gambling again!
All right.
A little loud, Jeremy.
A
Little bit.
We got a compressor.
Justin Fields looks like he's coming for everyone.
He had
Can't say
negative
that.
6 air
Oh,
yards.
I'm sorry, Billy.
He had negative
It was a
6 air
screen
yards.
pass.
All his passes were negative air yards.
It looks good. I mean, come
They
on.
look great.
DJ Moore looked good.
DJ Moore is amazing.
He is. Touchdown, first pass, right?
Just a little screenplay, 60 yards.
Yep. Is Blaine Gabbert the new Chad Henne? Something to ponder.
I swear to you, Stu, after your previous line about Blaine Gabbert, I looked at Tony and I said, man, he's really following the Chad Henne career route, huh? And here we
Moore.
are.
Matt
got
Moore.
That's amazing.
The
Yes.
forefathers.
Maybe it's because we speak the same language, home country, great story. But for some reason, I feel like once the U.S. were eliminated from the World Cup, the natural thing to do was to switch our allegiances to Australia. Fair?
Fair.
Trevor Siemian is a Bengal. If you're not rooting for Australia to win the World Cup, you're not American. The Matildas. You like that?
I did.
Top 5 things I love about Australia. Number 5, Leighton Hewitt. Number 4, Crocodile Dundee.
That's not a knife.
Number 3,
That's a knife.
Guzmani Gomez. Great taco joint.
I also like
Melbourne. Check it out. My friends own it. What?
I also like how they say 7. Steven?
7?
Steven? It should have been a top Steven.
No.
How do they say Steven?
Steven?
7?
Steven?
Number 2, Mike.
Sounded Dutch.
Melbourne.
Mike, you're the only one who will agree with me on this. Patrick Rafter.
Oh, you had me with Leighton Hewitt, though, to be honest.
And number 1,
Huge upset over Roger Federer back in the day when I was gambling again.
the Bloomin' Onion.
I had a feeling we was going to go there.
I love that.
I read an aggregated story on an IG account that is nameless that Outback Steakhouse is like the biggest restaurant in Brazil.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Not Texas Day Brazil?
No, it's not.
Oh.
They love their Outback Steakhouse.
Interesting. The Dodgers are going to be a problem. Blaine Gabbert
Gonna be.
carries a clipboard proudly. I like Zach Wilson more and find them to be more attractive when he's my backup.
And he looked pretty good, too.
I know. As a backup. Yeah. Tom Brady visiting soccer fans in a pub before the game. Tom, the J.J. Watt is strong in you. Also, he's coming back. When I go outside, I feel like I'm melting. Josh Dobbs is a Cleveland Brown. How does Chad Henne not have a podcast called A Henny for Your Thoughts? Huh? Anyone?
Because it's a whack name.
Last week you did it with Brad Penny.
I did.
And it went so well that you said, let me find a follow-up Chad Henne.
That's why I brought it back.
Yeah.
His should be anything as possible.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty good.
Salute Dominicans.
Malik Willis.
What was the Ron say? What was the
Final say.
Final say.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah. It's,
Worth keeping an eye on. That was Malik Willis. Top 5 guys worth keeping an eye on through 1 week of the preseason. I can't pronounce his name. I don't know why I put it down. Israel Abanikanda.
Jets running back.
That's why running backs have a problem. Abanikanda comes in out of nowhere. Never heard of him. He reels off 70 yards rushing, like 50 yards in the air. I mean, that's the deal. Anyone can play that position, including Abanikanda. Number 4, Sam Howell. Pretty good. Tony, pretty good.
He's going to be a starter.
I know. Number 3, Trey Lance.
Still needs to show me a little something.
I'm just saying it's worth keeping an eye on.
Still needs to show me something.
Number 2, Stetson Bennett.
I've got another top 5 list that Stetson Bennett's a part of that I want to do, but he was
you got
excellent.
a Bonnie Conda right.
Did I really?
That's amazing.
Unreal.
You were actually watching and listening.
Number 1, Malik Willis. Watch out for the Brew Crew. Tampa Bay has both Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask listed as QB1. You, of course, know what that means, right, Dan?
When you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have
It
one.
means if you have 2 QB1s, you don't have one. It also means you don't have a QB2. How about that? You were right. You were on it.
Baker looked good.
Melvin Gordon is
Played
a
well,
Raven.
too.
Yeah. Matt Barkley keeps chugging along.
Immaculate grid legend.
He's in
Matt
Buffalo,
Barkley.
Jeremy.
He has been
Melvin
for a while.
Gordon's
Super
the
Bowl.
one that got me, actually.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's
Gordon.
a Raven, huh?
He is.
Super
about
Bowl
that?
champion,
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon. Super Bowl
That's
champion.
right. I guarantee you Melvin Gordon's going to have a fumble 6 at the goal line this year. Is the easiest prediction I've
And then
ever
get
made.
getting in the game,
Right,
huh?
yeah. Death, taxes, and Matt Barkley going 14 of 15 for 172 yards and 2 tutties in a preseason game.
You said Melvin Gordon was on the Ravens?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to get in the game. The running backs always get hurt.
On Saturday, the Mets and Braves played a doubleheader, and the Mets lost by a combined score of 27-3. I hate them.
The Bravos.
I think they're cheating.
Well said.
They look like they're. I mean, their box scores look like they're cheating, anyways.
Latavius Murray, brace yourselves. Buffalo Bill.
You know, Damian Harris is too.
Also, yeah.
Really?
Old
Yeah.
face,
Oh,
new
it's
plays.
it's pre-rank season.
Feels like we're a storm away from everything ending. Will Snead IV,
True.
San Francisco 49er.
No way.
Yep, I swear.
way.
I saw it with my own eyes.
No way.
Yep. Archaeologists over the weekend discovered a 17th century vampire child with a padlocked ankle in a Polish graveyard. No word yet on if the vampire child's last name was Patino. All of a sudden, Lucas Glover is the best golfer in the world. Golf, hell of a game. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Stugotz, in your observations, you mentioned that Tom Brady was at a soccer game. He has an ownership stake in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
And he was out at the pub with some fans, and some images circulated. Tom Brady has taken sports ownership as a hobby to occupy his time and not the huge Fox broadcast deal that he signed.
Right.
I do find that curious and telling. But if we have images from Tom Brady's time in Birmingham, I'd like to throw it up real quick because fashionable as always, but he's going for a look right now. And we've noted that his hair is naturally white, and he's got a fresh coat on right now, not just like an actual winter coat, but a
Is
fresh
the
coat.
look Inspector Gadget?
So good.
Look, that's the one that let's save that one. That's the one that I want to concentrate on because there's a lot going on here. First off, I've been to Birmingham. No one looks like that in Birmingham.
This is Alabama?
No, it's
Ooh,
Birmingham,
Alabama or
UK.
England. I like it, Billy. Bringing a Twitter bit to life.
UAB,
What is
the Blazers,
so the look is
I think.
it's Inspector Gadget if Inspector Gadget was once married to Liza Minnelli. I think is the look that Tom is going for.
He looked like somebody tried to draw Val Kilmer as Batman with the mask on.
Draw Val Kilmer from memory. And you asked a 4-year-old to do it. There's something. Why isn't he? And he's also doing the white strips because the canine's not the same color as the front. So
He about to say, smoking.
why isn't he doing the Fox thing? He's just like, nah.
Why would he do the Fox thing?
Because it was a $300 deal.
$300 million deal.
It was.
It's a lot of work.
How much was it? I'm sorry.
You said $300.
Yeah, he said it was $300, which would explain why he
That would
wouldn't want
explain
to
why
do
he
it.
didn't.
Yeah,
That'd be a good
little
reason not to
lowball
do it.
there.
Yeah.
300.
It's
Sorry,
a lot of
grease in my
work
throat.
and a lot of travel, and it seems like very limited upside. Because
Yeah,
with
he
Tom
does-
Brady, you could do whatever the hell you want. Why would you keep doing a job that you actually have
lot,
to do?
lot of work and a lot of travel, as opposed to his present
Hanging
schedule
out.
of no work and a lot of travel.
Traveling for funsies is
Right.
different than traveling to Tampa Bay and
Traveling for
Kansas
stuff that you
City
own
and
too. Yes.
Dallas. Like, it's just not the same thing. He gets to travel the world and have a little island in the Caribbean to go back to.
But the other one gives him $300 million.
Doesn't need it. Already rich.
God, I can't wait. Well, I'm never going to get there.
And so
Who am I
you don't
kidding?
need $300 million.
Yeah.
He could make $300 million doing a bunch of other stuff, probably much quicker than he could doing the Fox deal.
I just get, with every time that I see him out there, I just feel like it's inevitable that he's coming back.
Well, he is. I mean,
There's just something to it. And I think he's going to revel in the opportunity to stick it to Garoppolo once more. I mean, they have off-injured Jimmy Garoppolo as their franchise quarterback.
mm-hmm.
They have Josh McDaniel there. He's an owner there. The Raiders have the more primetime games. I understand I sound like Tony right now, but there's a lot of evidence there that would suggest if he's ever going to do it, this is the spot that he'd do it in.
Smoke, there's fire, Mike.
He did it already.
Yeah.
I mean,
But, I mean,
he did it in Tampa.
I-
Now he owns the team. So imagine they need a quarterback because theirs is lousy or he gets hurt, which he always does. And in swoops the owner to save the day. What a great
can he
story.
do that? Can you be an owner and a quarterback at the same time?
Only Brady can.
We've never seen it before. I don't know if he has to.
Does he go to Goodell and be like, hey, I'm going to lace him up one more time?
I don't know.
You
if
the
think
boys
Goodell's
need me.
going to say no?
Does he have to suspend his equity?
Tony, the ratings on the game that Tom Brady comes
Crazy.
out of the ownership
Crazy.
booth to play quarterback again.
What if they show him pregame up in the owner's box, and then all of a sudden the lights turn off and he trots out
I love that.
with that 12, that black and silver 12. Electric.
It would be electric.
They should not put this picture up right there, though, because he look like he knows what you did last summer.
The trench coat's very ominous. It's a very distinguished look.
How do you think he interacted with the locals there? Because there's a lot of bald soccer heads that he's chatting up right now.
This has all the makings, Mike, because Garoppolo gets injured a lot. Brady loves to, outdo Garoppolo. He always has. He always will. And Brian Hoyer's the backup. I mean,
They got the band back
and
together.
McDaniels is the coach. Brady will feel right at home here.
They got they got the band back together.
It looks like he's having an allergic reaction to something.
Yeah, talking to normies.
He look like Fabio in Beauty and the Beast as the Beast.
Lucy, I wanted to talk to you because I saw while I was gone you were. Well, I wanted to talk to you because you're on the show, but I saw over the weekend that.
Thanks.
Over a couple weekends ago, I don't know, the days are kind of blurry. I spent like 20 hours in the Atlanta airport. I slept on the floor with a 3-year-old covered in vomit. So, excuse me for getting the timeline wrong. I'm surprised I haven't sounded marble mouth. But did you see the Darren Sproles comparison back? That my connection with preseason football has just been on clips that have been that I've been allowed to see in other countries. And there is a very tiny running back playing for Dallas. What's his name?
Deuce Vaughn. So he was electric in the Cowboys preseason game, and anyone who watched college football was very aware he did that all the time at Kansas State. Like, it was very not shocking to anyone. The only reason that he was drafted so late is because of his size. He was insane in college.
Chris Cody isn't here to defend his take, but in looking at Deuce Vaughn, do you think that he can just decide one day, I'm going to play pass rusher?
Not him.
No?
Not Deuce Vaughn.
No?
Slot corner, maybe.
Slot corner, maybe, you think?
Maybe.
It's just the dumbest goddamn thing.
But
I've
again,
ever
here's
on
the
this
problem
show.
with the running back position. Deuce Vaughn went in the 6th round, and he's going to get a lot of playing time for the Cowboys. They don't need Zeke out.
Situational
You just
playing
keep
time.
drafting running backs.
Well, the problem, and this is one of the franchise that has paid a running back.
Well, they have Pollard.
And that running back is a free agent. It's kind of nuts. I saw Kareem Hunt was taking meetings, but it's Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt. These are productive running backs. Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes.
These are running backs that aren't too far removed from their primes, have shown.
Dalvin Cook is in his prime.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott is not in his prime, but he's still a productive running back and could help your room a little bit. And they're just not getting all that much interest. Kareem Hunt's probably the one that's going to get the first amount of work. I don't know. Has he signed?
Not yet. He's taken like 17 different meetings, and every time he leaves the team, you're like, all right, he's for sure going to the Saints. And then he leaves, and he's like, nah, I'm good.
How does Latavius Murray do it? Because like he's RB1.
Right place, right time.
Mm-hmm.
He's RB1.
Well,
In Buffalo, yeah.
that's
got a little
Debatable.
James
Yeah.
Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big Damian Harris guy, but if you look at
Goal line back.
the pre-ranks, it's Latavius Murray. And is it just because he's always been like, I'm Latavius Murray, I'm not going to cost you a lot of money, and I don't have a history with making a lot of money? How does he get work before Kareem Hunt? How does he get work before Ezekiel Elliott? How is Dalvin Cook still out there? And I understand in talking this out, Latavius Murray I don't think has the off-field concerns that any of the three. There is something in common with the other three running backs is that they've had off-field concerns. Dalvin Cook's, we never really got to the bottom of that, really, all that much. And that's got to be part of the holdup here with Dalvin Cook. But yeah, out of all those running backs, Dalvin Cook is the one closest to his prime.
He's 28. I mean, he's coming off a good. I know he gets hurt a lot.
Usually the
but he's-
age.
I would say Kareem Hunt's probably the closest to being in his prime because he was not too many years removed from being excellent in Kansas City.
And he's got fewer tread on the tires
Didn't
because
play a lot in Cleveland.
Yeah, but to answer your question on Murray, he is willing to take the deal. He is willing to be your starting running back, your second running back, or in this case, in Buffalo, he's their third running back. He is listed as third on the depth chart.
Who, Murray?
Yes, but he knows the nature of that position, and he knows his time is coming.
yeah.
He was
He
also
does,
signed
right.
before Naeem Hines had his incident.
Right. Yeah,
so he was also ready to be that third guy.
You know,
Yeah.
Latavius Murray is 4th on the list of active running back touchdowns.
Wow, that's huge for showdowns.
You're welcome.
Write that one down.
I'm writing that one down.
Go Knights.
He's also like the one back that's like the war of attrition specialist. It's just like, hey, it's week 14. We need somebody. Where's Latavius Murray?
And you feel so good about it. Yes.
Broncos signed him last
If
year.
your
They're
team
like,
has, oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, because by that week, 90% of starting running backs from week 1 are hurt.
I don't know what the solve is because all this is factual, and you can't have a union sprout from within a union, at least not overnight. But they need to be given something because the sport is just heading in an impossible direction, and 5'5" Deuce Vaughn doesn't have a lot of options if he wants to play football.
I'm sad Chris isn't here because we were workshopping an argument. I was hoping the conversation would never come up again, to be perfectly honest with you, the whole running back switching position thing. But I told him next time Mike says, can a running back just switch positions, ask him, could Tiki Barber, could he be a cornerback?
I mean, one would hope.
He probably has been. We just don't know.
Well, his brother's a Hall of Famer and had literally the exact same body.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
in that situation, it worked.
Do you think Rondé Barber is the better running back of the two and decided, you know what?
Now we're cooking with
I'm making a business decision here, and I'm going to just play corner because it'll prolong my career. That's the conversation.
We can both play corner and running back. And who you want to go to New York or you want to go to Tampa? What do you feel like?
Ooh, you think maybe they ever switched? Yeah, like year to year. Like I'm not feeling like this year. You know, I don't want to be in New York. Let's just do a Tampa year. You go to New York and.
I hate Strahan. Can you come?
That is a way to save the wear and tear on a running back's legs. Is just do it every other season.
Extra miles. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it didn't necessarily work out for Le'Veon Bell. Who tried that?
Well, he got his deal from the Jets.
Well, he
though.
also wasn't playing
He did.
football in the year off.
But the deal that he got
when
with
Tiki
his
and
Jets,
Rondé were, they would
it's
take a
proven.
year off from
It was-
running,
it
just
was-
not football.
It was
Correct.
$12 million less than Le'Veon Bell wanted, but he still got a $28 million deal.
It was proven. It was one of history's dumbest holdouts.
Then he went and boxed.
And he dropped the album. And that thing went.
The
good.
release party was right down the street from the Clevelander. We got invited to it by the guy at the garage that did security.
Didn't he beat Adrian Peterson in a fight?
Yes, he knocked him out.
AP.
Salute to AP.
That was shocking. I mean, I didn't expect that just because the handshake thing with Adrian Peterson. You wouldn't expect Adrian Peterson, who kept his conditioning, better than Le'Veon Bell did. I was very surprised to see that. You never know. That's why you got to get two people in the octagon or the boxing ring. And that leads me to my next point.
Puncher's chance. You never know.
Always got one.
Yeah, coming up next, there is some. I've been mocked relentlessly for keeping Threads alive, which, by the way, Threads is back, Jack. Threads is super bad.
Do you see anybody else in the Thread streets outside of like a mirror? Is it just you or is anybody else?
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is there. And
So you and him.
Yeah, it's me and Zuck. And Threads is actually an incredible news source. And he gave us an update on the super fight, in which we'll get into it. But I thought it was a little troubling in that I saw the timestamp on Mark Zuckerberg's thread, and it had like 137 likes when it was on the timeline for a couple minutes. Whew.